Wrestling fans, the month of February is here. It's getting chilly, but it's Thursday night at 10 o'clock. We're here to warm you up. I'm Dan Mirade.
MJ and Niles.
A brand new Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty is next. Stand by.
Boston wrestling sports and the MWF explodes into a new year of unknown with professional wrestling content galore, and we need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after we review the previous night's Monday Night Raw, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with the unpredictable WWE Hall of Famer, Mr. USA, Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights after WWE NXT and AEW at 10 p.m., you never know who's going to show up on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's No Holds Barred Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll journey through the 80s and 90s on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday nights after the lights go down at the Thunderdome on SmackDown, it's John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. If you want early, ad-free access to all of our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and to help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times, for less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, join our growing family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Expect the unexpected in 2021.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world, welcome to another installment of Wrestling Insiders Current Events. I'm Dan Mirade. We're going to be joined momentarily by my partner in crime, Mr. Dave Carter. I tell you, folks, here I am at my hornswoggle-sized table at MWF Studios, downtown Melrose, Massachusetts. The zip code of Champion 02176. I have pie on my face. I don't want to go the Junior Soprano route when he used to whistle in the wheat fields on the HBO acclaimed series, but I screwed up, or I think it was me. I don't know who else would have done it, but there was a severe, I'll even use the F word because in extreme times I think it's warranted. There was a big fuck up today, which was our episode of Party with Marty Jannetty aired at 10 a.m. instead of 10 p.m. So all of our friends that get together at 10 o'clock were left out in the cold, much like the cold. Well, actually, it's not so cold today here in Boston, at least. But so what we're going to do is, fans, instead of having two separate episodes like we usually do with the review shows and the talk shows, for those that may have missed the premiere that's already available now, I am going to replay, I guess is the best way to put it, tonight's Marty Jannetty episode as soon as we are done with the reviews of AEW Dynamite and WWE NXT. So there won't be a gap in between the shows. It's just going to be one long video for your viewing pleasure. Let's get a couple of the cheap plugs out of the way before we get going with all the news that is fair to air. I am worn down, believe me, after a morning with old Johnny Cena and that piece, I tell you, brother, but we created some great content today. Do not forget, tomorrow night it's a creature double feature, and we have a lot of creatures that come in and out of this studio. Just ask Dave. At 7:30 p.m., Mr. USA Tony Atlas is going to be L-I-V-E live in this studio talking wrestling with you fine folks in our efforts to raise funds to keep the talk shows on the air. He's going to have autographs, artwork, stories, memories, and laughs galore, as we always do with Tony. Then at 10 p.m., when the lights in the Thunderdome go off, the lights on his head turn on. John Cena Sr. is back as we talk about the landscape in WWE after the Royal Rumble. Johnny had a little bit of heat with some of the fans live during the Royal Rumble watch-along we had on Sunday. But much like he does in his private time with Margot Ouellette of Ms. and Mrs. fame, he's a man that likes to shoot so to speak. He's known for his shooting. I guess you'd have to ask Margot. Don't forget that Saturday night at 10 p.m. after our SmackDown review show, we have our new supersized Wrestling Insiders Week in Review. This week it has 5 full-length Wrestling Insider studio shoot interview episodes in one-stop shopping. We realize it is a lot to dedicate 4 or 5 nights a week to our in-studio shoot interview talk shows. So this winter, I'm testing the waters a little bit with an episode where you can relax on a Saturday night where there's not much to do during these coronavirus times, or something you can listen to while at work, while you're traveling, while you're hanging and banging at the gym, like my partner on the gas here, Little Cena.
Yes, sir.
Saturday night at 10, you can join myself, TJP, Tony Atlas, Nasty Boy Jerry Saggs, Marty Jannetty, and John Cena Sr. You get all 5 programs in one full-length video. If you already watched them earlier in the week, that's cool. You can come hang out and talk in the premiere. If you missed some of the episodes, same thing. Come along. Next week, don't forget, Tony Atlas is back in his normal slot at 10 p.m. with Wrestling Insiders at Your House. Wednesday night at 10 p.m. after NXT and AEW Dynamite, it's Wrestling Insiders Special Edition with our rotating guest. This week, it's the return of Native American Tatanka. Thursday, put the women and children to bed as Marty Jannetty continues his no-holds-barred sex, drugs, and rock and roll adventure through the 80s and 90s on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty, back at our regular time of 10 p.m. I'll make sure of it. In addition to Tony's live episode tomorrow night, we're planning on having Marty Jannetty back with us live in studio Friday, February the 19th. And we're also hoping to do those live pay-per-view watch-alongs with NXT TakeOver and Elimination Chamber. You know, it was nice to have some of the fans say, I don't have anybody to watch the pay-per-views with anymore. So they had a lot of fun hanging out with myself and John Cena Sr. and hopefully Mr. Carter here on the upcoming shows. You make some new friends and let's have some fun. As we continue our efforts to bring you more great superstars and keep wrestling legends working, don't forget our Patreon streaming service is on fire right now. No matter where you live in the country, you could be up in northern Maine with Tony Atlas and Slick Rick B and be warm. You get the early ad-free access to all 4 of our regular weekly in-studio Wrestling Insider studio shoot interview talk shows. Our world-renowned studio shoot interview DVD library is seen by millions online and millions more on The Howard Stern Show. You get exclusive content, and again, you're helping the great veterans and superstars of our sport that aren't under contract to AEW or WWE earn a living in the worst of times, going 10-plus months with almost no independent wrestling shows, no autograph signings, no fan fests, and you can get all of this all for less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Die-hard fans will love it. Try it for a month. I almost feel like Sally Struthers throwing that pitch to try and help the children overseas, but I'm trying to help professional wrestling legends. Life may be quiet at night where you are, but again, folks, don't forget, our eBay store is open 24/7 around the globe. Get great wrestling collectibles from every era. For your wrestling man cave, the link can be found in the description box below. With the cheap plugs out of the way, I now pass the baton over to my partner in crime, longtime MWF Boston Wrestling associate all the way back to 2008, a man that has seen it all, done it all, literally, just ask his Tinder dates, Mr. David Carter. Dave, a pleasure to have you with us here on this podcast-style review of 2 interesting episodes of professional wrestling.
Absolutely. I'm glad you're having me back. I'm excited to go over the review of NXT with you.
Do you have socks on?
Actually, I don't, believe it or not.
No socks. All right. Well, we'll call you Sockless, I guess.
Yes, I don't have them on. That's the truth.
Now, I asked you before the show, but the fans, we cannot leave them in suspense. Which one do you want to review first, NXT or AEW? I leave it at your discretion, sir.
We're gonna do NXT first. I think that was the better of the shows, but I have it right in front of me. I think that's easier right now.
Then fire away. Where did we begin? From the
right.
Capitol Wrestling Center in Orlando, Florida.
Well, we kicked it off with your favorite, a women's match, a tag team match with Kaden Carter, Casey Catazero versus Dakota Kai and Raquel Gonzalez. I thought it was a decent match. I really like Raquel. I think she's definitely going to be a great talent when she gets bumped up to the main roster if she can keep on working on the craft. Dakota Kai and Raquel won and advanced in the Dusty Classic. What do you think about them doing a women's version of that?
I think it's an embarrassment to what they're trying to do on the flip side of the coin with the men, for the simple reason being this. If they actually had a women's tag team division, okay, I'd shrug my shoulders and say, you know what, Dan Mirade might not be a huge advocate of women's tag team wrestling, but there are fans that do. But they don't have any women's tag teams. So why waste the time trying to have a tournament just so they can be PC and say, oh, well, the men have their Dusty Classic tag team tournament, so now the women can too, just like the shit Royal Rumble they put out on Sunday, but that's a different story for a different time. I think you're right. I think Raquel Gonzalez has a unique size and look to her that, you know, at some point, once she's finely tuned, she could make an impact on the WWE main roster, but the rest of them, you know, I really wouldn't recognize them if they crossed the street.
I know, and I don't disagree with you. I thought having a women's one is just overdue, overkill. I think it's like you said, they just put together wrestlers and women's wrestlers and decide to have this tournament. When, if like you said, if there was a bunch of women's tag teams, okay, but they're just putting a bunch together. I didn't like the idea of it either. But I guess it does put some value behind some of these girls' names so we can see some of them in action, I guess. But I know you're not a huge fan of it. From there, we had Edge shown backstage with William Regal holding a pair of brass knuckles, and then they went to commercial. I don't really know what that was about. We will find out later on, but
didn't they do an angle way back in the early 2000s with the two of them with the brass knucks?
Yes.
Well, maybe they were trying to, for the few fans that may still be watching from that era, maybe they were trying to drop us a little Easter egg or whatever that cool kid's term is.
And that's funny because I thought of that last night. I was going to write it, but I'm like, I don't know. I didn't know if you'd be like, are you crazy?
No, I thought the exact same thing.
Okay, so that's good that we both thought about that. But from there, let me ask you this. Did you like Edge coming down to NXT or?
Yes, very much so. I set the precedent last year with Charlotte, so I think it's a good idea to do it every year now, to be honest. Yeah. I would try and give NXT the rub and make it seem important. If you think back to... oh, gosh, when did it begin? 2006, when they relaunched the ECW brand. Remember how they'd only have like 2 or 3 guys in the Rumble every year? Yep. And the only person that they teased that would even challenge for the ECW championship at WrestleMania if he won the Rumble would be Tommy Dreamer.
Yeah.
So exactly. I thought this was very good. I like the idea that they do it now.
Yeah, I did too. I thought it was going to be fun. And then from there, we got a match. Austin Theory versus Leon Ruff. I thought it was a great match. I love Austin Theory. I think he's got money written all over him. If he can just continue to grow, maybe do a better promo. I don't know, with him, with Johnny Gargano, I don't know how I feel about that. I don't think maybe he needs the mouthpiece, but I don't even think Gargano's really good at doing a promo either. But I do like Austin Theory, and I thought the match was pretty good. Leon Ruff's, he's real small, but he's talented. Austin Theory won the match. Dexter Lumis came out and attacked him after the match. I don't know. What do you feel about the whole segment? Do you like Dexter Lumis? What do you think about Austin Theory?
Well, I'll start with Dexter Lumis, since he really wasn't involved in the decision or the execution of the match. Right. What a coat of paint WWE in the Performance Center have given that guy compared to where he was, as I believe his name was Samuel Shaw in TNA.
Exactly.
I mean, you gave the man a second life. You gave him a second shot at a career. I mean, for those that may dislike WWE, and there are things about it that I think a lot of fans can find that they may not be particularly fond of, what they did at the Performance Center with just this guy alone as a reclamation project. I mean, he had good size. He had a decent enough look. I'm not the biggest fan of the gimmick that he has, but you know what? That's just one man's opinion. He's still growing into it. But the fact that they've taken a guy that was virtually nothing after TNA got rid of him, I don't even know if he was doing independent shows or anything like that, but to bring him into their system and now present him on national television each Wednesday night, and, with his size, I'd say I would be shell-shocked if he didn't get a very good opportunity on either Raw or SmackDown at some point once they feel he's fine-tuned enough to be on one of those two shows. So I applaud the training staff at the Performance Center for everything they've done with Dexter Lumis. As far as this match goes, I agree with you 110%. I've said it on these review shows. I think Austin Theory has the potential, again, I stress the word potential, to be a future main eventer on Raw or SmackDown. Not just a main eventer on Raw or SmackDown, but a potential WrestleMania main eventer. I think that highly of this guy. Leon Ruff, he's more of a joke. If you have one-on-one brand, that's fine, but they also have the little British guy that I don't like. What's his name?
Drake.
Drake Maverick, that's right. So, I mean, why do you need to? I don't think it helps Theory to be aligned at the hip with a faction that's a complete and utter joke that isn't funny. You had Johnny Gargano that was ultra over as a babyface to the point where there are 95% of the baby faces that enter pro wrestling wish they could be as over as Johnny Gargano was at his peak at NXT on some of those sold-out major arena takeover shows. That boggles my mind. He is the little Dutch boy, Wes Simcoe of WWE NXT, but I don't find his comedy funny at all. I don't like the interactions with the wife, and I think it's an anchor you're putting around a young talent like Austin Theory's ankle, and I don't think he needs it. I don't think it helps him. I think it hurts him. Funny doesn't equal money. If you take serious stars and have them do humorous things sometimes, that's one thing. Look at Steve Austin. I mean, when Steve Austin was in his prime and kicking ass, he'd do things that would make you laugh sometimes. When he turned into the Steve Austin that wore the little cowboy hat and drank milk, and they turned him into a joke, it killed the professional wrestling business to the point that it still hasn't recovered now. It'll be 20 years this summer since they turned Austin heel, since the bell rang at the end of WrestleMania 17 down in Houston, but that's a long story for a different time. I just think I would try and keep Austin Theory special. I would try and keep Austin Theory separated from anything that could negatively impact him going down the line. No one wants to watch retrospective videos on WWE Network 10 years from now on how Austin Theory was a funny comedian with the Gargano clan and whoever that other Bozak is with them.
Right. Oh, exactly. I totally agree. That's why I said that. But I'm glad we agree on that. From there, we had another Dusty Classic tag team match, which was Lucha House Party, which is Gran Metalik and Lince Dorado versus Legado del Fantasma, Raul Mendoza and Joaquin Wild. I think great match. They're all great athletic, great workers. There was a big spot by Lince that had the beautiful dive outside the ring. I thought that was fantastic. Legado del Fantasma win the match. They advance. I thought it was a great match. I mean, you're not going to get a bad match with them. And it's just the tag team classic. So honestly, there wasn't no story behind it other than advancing. But MSK came out. I haven't talked to you about them. I was wondering how you thought about them because I know you probably know they're from Impact Wrestling,
right?
Rascals. I think they're pretty good. And they just cut a promo on LDF. What did you think about the whole segment and the match?
Well, as far as MSK goes, I think they were a great addition to the roster. I think they were a great team. The problem is they're not going to have any credibility with anyone over the size of maybe 5'10". I mean, they're really little, especially I think he's called Wes Lee in WWE.
Yep.
I mean, it's not a knock against the guy. It's Mother Nature. It's what they gave him to work with. But, with Cruiserweight style wrestling, I mean, I think it's a great addition to the company. I think it's kind of sad that the number one contenders for the Raw tag team titles came down to NXT and lost so early in the tournament. But again, I knocked the women's Dusty Classic. I'll even take a little jab at the men's. When you don't have enough tag teams to fill it, I'm not quite sure what the purposes of keep doing it is. But again, one man's opinion. I thought the match itself, though, if you eliminate all that, was actually really good. I want to congratulate my buddy, DJ, or the former DJ Z, on the birth of his child. A new adventure begins for his life. He's a man we tried to have in the MWF several times, but injuries and TNA commitments took him away from us, unfortunately, and he never made his MWF debut, but he still remembers he owes us a couple, so that's why I have a lot of respect for him. Now, in 2021, where TNA or Impact Wrestling, however you want to describe it, is relaxed as far as other companies using characters and gimmicks they created, I don't know why WWE doesn't want to use him as DJZ, where he was so much more interesting, he was much more over, he was much more colorful, as opposed to a guy that just stands there in a suit that barely speaks. And I'll say the same thing about Robert Stone, the former Robbie E., who was a heel that you wanted to have the babyface kick the hell out of him when they had the match with him. As Robert Stone, he's just kind of bland and boring and pre-produced and not something that really interests me. Again, one man's opinion.
No, I totally agree, because when I bet a lot of fans too that know him as DJZ don't even know that he's Joaquin Wild. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there were some fans that watch TNA that don't even realize that's him, where he was so, larger than life in TNA
because
with his personality. His hair was all crazy. He wore those crazy glasses sometimes. His tights were kind of out there. He was a really creative guy, and I just think, he's happy to be in WWE and collect a very secure paycheck, I'm sure. But as far as long-term, I just look at that faction as what they do is good in the ring, but I just look at them as just kind of,
yeah,
I don't know about, but kind of just there, I guess.
That's exactly what I meant. Yeah, exactly. I totally agree. From there, we had Danny Burch, Oney Lorcan, and Pete Dunne arriving in an SUV, basically coming out saying they want a Finn, and so they walked through the backstage. Then we got Thatcher and Ciampa shown backstage, getting ready for their match later on that night. And then I don't know if do you want to say anything about that, or do you want me to go right into what happened?
No, go right into it.
All right. So then we got, after the commercial break, we got Danny Burch, Oney Lorcan, and Pete Dunne head down to the ring. Pete Dunne obviously isn't happy with Finn and what's been going on. Then Finn's music hit. He interrupts him. He basically, it was weird because he challenged Pete Dunne to give him a shot at the NXT title, which usually it's the other way around.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was kind of when, I don't know. But then Edge came out. Edge music's hit. He came down to the ring, which I thought this part right there, when he says that I couldn't believe he went there. I can't believe they let him go there. When Edge says the E is more focused down in WWE, which is entertainment, obviously, and the W is more for NXT because they focus on the wrestling. I'm just shocked that he would actually say that. I thought it was a good promo by Edge. Now, do you think he's going to go anywhere with that about getting a title shot or anything? Because I know he said he's never won that championship before, had the opportunity to.
No.
I don't,
I don't see that happening. I think it's a great tease. I think it was a great addition to the NXT show to hopefully get some more eyeballs on it for the TV ratings. But as far as the execution of the championship opportunity he earned at WrestleMania, it won't be the NXT one.
Right. And that's what I just thought, I know why they did it, but I was just like, I wonder if he'll ever go back down and maybe have, you know what I mean? Obviously not for that.
I'd like to see him show up more than once. I'd like to see him show up at TakeOver on February 14th.
That's what I was more getting at.
The thing that drives me nuts nowadays about WrestleMania is it's almost a waste to even have it in January, where there's so much time between the Rumble and WrestleMania, where this year they have not one but two pay-per-views in between. That's a lot of time to fill on two pay-per-views. I don't think that anyone really is knocking at the door to really that they want to see to begin with. But that's, again, one man's opinion.
Absolutely. Oh, no, absolutely. I don't disagree at all. Basically, from then after what he also continued to say is called Finn and Dunne two of the best in the business right now, and sees a lot of himself in them. I thought it was good putting over Pete Dunne because everybody knows Finn, but Pete Dunne still hasn't been on the main roster yet. So a lot of people maybe from WWE watching, from Raw and SmackDown, maybe tuned into NXT last night to see Edge. Maybe they're like, all right, well, we should check out this Pete Dunne guy. So I kind of thought that was it. Give him a little bit of what they call the rub, I don't know. I thought that was nice.
Yeah, he gave him the rub. Not that Finn really needs it. I think just about every fan of WWE, unless they're really new to the show, are familiar with who Finn is. But I look forward to the Finn and Pete Dunne takeover match. I think that has the potential to be exceptional. I was a huge fan of O'Reilly and Balor. I don't know if this can top it, but I know Finn is going to put forth the effort to try and top it, and I think that makes for a really good main event with international flair on Valentine's night.
Oh, absolutely. I'm a big fan of O'Reilly, too. I love the guy. I think he's fantastic. I totally agree. From there, we got a Johnny Gargano interview backstage. Another funny ha-ha thing. Yeah. I don't know if you have anything
I'm still laughing.
Okay, so then we'll just skip it. Then we got from there we got your favorite another women's match, Toni Storm versus Jessie Kamea. Toni Storm's got a lot of potential behind her. I think she's fantastic. She's just getting better and better every time I watch her. It was a good match. Io Shirai got involved in the match. How do you feel about Io Shirai? Do you think she's like another Asuka, or do you think she's too small?
I don't think she's as good as Asuka, but I'll tell you this. I thought the women involved with the brawl after the match was much better than the match itself. I think Toni Storm is someone that they, has the potential to be a player on Raw or SmackDown if they don't turn her, too sports entertainment-y. But the other one, please. But I thought the brawl after the match was better than the match.
She took a big bump too. That's why I probably liked it more. The one that you didn't care about, Jessie. I don't blame you. I totally agree. I didn't see Jessie's whatever. I think she's just a body there. But Toni, I hope they don't mess her up when she gets called up. From there, we got Kurt Stallion, a promo backstage, talks about his chance of beating Escobar tonight for the Cruiserweight title. What do you think of him? I don't know. He kind of reminds me of like a Matt Riddle, just not the, all the like bro stuff.
He hasn't grown on me as of yet. I guess maybe is the PC way to put it.
The way he looks, the way he looks and everything like that, he kind of reminds me of like a Matt Riddle lookalike, but not the same with the bro stuff.
I guess I can see that to some degree.
From there, we got the match. When we came back, it was Kurt Stallion versus Santos Escobar for the Cruiserweight Championship. Love Escobar, and I know you probably do too. Very talented. Scarlett was watching along with the whole match, so you knew Karrion Kross was going to get involved at some point. It was all Escobar, though. They didn't let Kurt Stallion get anything in. Nothing. I couldn't believe that. No offense.
It was almost like an enhancement match, yeah.
Exactly. That was my next. I have enhancement written down. That's so true. I was like, wow, I thought they would do something, but no, he didn't get anything in there. Escobar won the match, retained the title. Then out comes Karrion Kross, attacks Escobar's partners, which is, we know, Raul Mendoza and Joaquin Wilde. Turns around, gets in the ring, and faces Escobar face to face. Basically says, "TikTok, your time's coming up." What do you think of Karrion Kross?
I tell you this, I think at some point that man is going to have one of the great WrestleMania entrances in WrestleMania history.
Absolutely. Yep. Because he already does in NXT.
Yeah. I really think at some point, once he's main roster bound and they have an idea on where they want to go with him long term, I think some WrestleMania we're going to be sitting there and if we're with each other, we'll look at each other and go, wow.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Now, do you see him doing something, or do you just see him just a good player?
On one of the main roster shows?
Yeah.
I think where he has size, they're going to give him every chance in the world to main event. They have to.
Yeah, I would say
I mean,
so
look
too.
at, I'm gonna get it wrong. I always do, and I have a 50-50 flip of the coin. Is it Damian Priest?
Yeah, you're right, Damian Priest.
Okay, half the time I call him Judas Priest. Damian Priest. I mean, this is a guy, or he's got good size, but I mean, he's not really that thick. And they're really giving him a great push right off the bat to try and give him a chance to make an impact on Raw right now. And I think that's a good thing. Like I said, would I like to see the guy have an extra 20, 30 pounds on him in a healthy way? Wink, wink. Absolutely. But, I mean, he is what he is. As far as Kross goes, I think he's thicker. I think size-wise, there isn't much of a difference. I think he has a great chance to make a major impact in WWE. I don't like the way he left TNA. That's a different story for a different time. I think when you sign a contract and you make an agreement with the company, and a company gives you a platform to perform on and make a name for yourself on it, you honor that commitment. You just don't walk away because you think there's better endeavors out there. But that aside, I think it's a great pairing with him and Scarlett, and I think there is great potential for him to do great things in WWE as time goes on if he keeps his head on right and keeps working hard and keeps executing once the bell rings.
Absolutely. I can't disagree with any of that. I'm glad we both see we're agreeing a lot tonight.
Yeah, that's rare.
From there, we had Edge shown leaving backstage. He was walking out the door. Then he gets stopped by Karrion Kross. Basically, Kross just cut a little promo on him. Basically tells him that Edge said, "You motivate me to come back here." So I don't know. Maybe that's the match we're going to see if they do a match down there. I don't know. You know what's crazy is honestly, Edge looked bigger than him. Like when they were face to face, like
He
taller.
did, yeah. But I mean, Edge is deceptively big. I don't know if
Right.
you've ever met him in person, but he's
he's
not the thickest guy on the planet either, but he is quite tall.
Right, and it just on the visual on the TV, I'm like, wow, Edge is as big as him. Like I think he was a little bit taller. Actually, I was like blown away by that. But that's good to know. See, you have, so you would know.
The one that really kind of, what's the way I'm looking to describe this now? The one that kind of showed me the size of what the roster is like present day was seeing Carlito in the Royal Rumble. As I know, I'm quite bigger than Carlito. And to see how bigger he was than a lot of the guys in the Rumble match really surprised me more than I expected, I guess is the best way to put it. It's a smaller roster. What's that now?
He came ready. Speaking, I know we're going off topic real quick, but he came ready to come back, man. He looked great.
Oh, yeah. John Cena Sr. and I have a great discussion about it tomorrow night at 10 o'clock on Wrestling Insider's Fabulous Friday. The former MWF heavyweight champion is back in WWE, at least for a limited time. The person in me that loves wrestling hopes he stays. The person in me that promotes live events hopes no, I still want to have access to him to book him once we're able to have live events with fans again. But, I'm very happy for Carlito. I do understand why he left 10 years ago, but I just think there was a way that could have been resolved in a more positive way. It benefited us, where we had so many great appearances with him, not just here in Massachusetts, but we were down together in, which one was that? Down in Dallas for WrestleCon one year, and so we even traveled with Carlito. He's a good guy. I think he got a bad rap that he didn't deserve, and I look forward to seeing what he does with this opportunity, whether it's short-term, long-term, even if it winds up being short-term, at least is getting his name out there again to use in other ways, whether it be another national promotion that may want him or on the independents.
Yep, being seen on that platform and just how much he's improved. Because he looked great, and that's the thing is. And then you see a guy. I know he's older, but like the Hurricane comes back and what the frig, man? You know you're gonna be in that match. Why don't you? He looked awful. I don't get it.
Look at Victoria and how Victoria and Jillian Hall showed up. But
I know. Tori looked good, but not them two. Oh, man. Whew. All right. So then we got the main event, which was an awesome match. I loved it. Adam Cole, Roderick Strong versus Timothy Thatcher and Tommaso Ciampa. Hard-hitting, great wrestling. Mm-hmm. It was awesome. Thatcher's great. I'll ask you in a second on what you think of him. I'm going to guess you probably really like him. A lot of submissions, reversals. They're all great workers anyway, so that's I didn't expect anything different, but what got me was the finish. It actually finished with the DDT. I was shocked that the Ciampa pinned Strong to advance in the tournament, but I was just so surprised about that. And then at the end, we had Grizzly Young Vets come out, and they started brawling as it went off the air in front of the Dusty Classic Trophy. But what did you think? I mean, you must have enjoyed that match.
If every match in wrestling nowadays was half as good as this, we wouldn't have anything to complain about on these review shows. It'd almost be like the 80s boom and the Attitude Era and the Monday Night Wars at its best, when everybody was excited to tune in to see what was going to happen. I mean, you had 4 great professional wrestlers in there. I like the fact that this year it is Cole and Strong as the team instead of the usual Fish and O'Reilly duo. I like the fact that they've let O'Reilly kind of branch out and try and do some singles main events on his own. I think Strong and Cole gel just as well as a team. Tommaso and Thatcher have been enemies, come together in the tournament, which seems to happen every year. 2 enemies just wind up teaming together. That's not so much of a surprise, just kind of a regular thing, I guess. But you know what? The match itself was excellent. That's what a pro wrestling main event should be on a television show. You're not giving away something you'd give at a pay-per-view, but still very solid and something very, very, very worth going out of your way to sit there and watch and see. I hate the name Grizzled Young Veterans, though. I hate it. I hate the name. I don't mind them, but great. I hate the name.
Yeah. So, is there anything else you have to add? Because that was the end of NXT. But you like. I'm guessing Timothy Thatcher now. Do you see him main roster potential, or is he just?
I think he is going to wind up better used in NXT than he would on one of the main brands. Just
Right.
my opinion. I don't know.
Let's look at already with Riddle.
And I'll say this to be fair, I haven't seen a ton of the guy. I've probably only seen him now maybe a half dozen times. I think he's very good. I just think once he gets to that main roster and the people that work in WWE that aren't associated with NXT, look at them and see what they're working with. I don't know. I think maybe like Tommaso, he's better off in NXT for as long as possible.
I totally agree, and that's NXT.
So I don't know if you're familiar with this, but on these review programs, we give a grade to them on a scale of 1 to 10. With
That's
me,
right.
I don't hold off. I grade it as soon as the show is over, so I'm not dissuaded when I'm doing the reviews. Sometimes I do the reviews and I think, well, maybe it was a little better than that. Or I think, well, no, maybe it was actually sucked and was worse than that. But I give it the grade at 10 p.m., or whichever show I don't watch live, as soon as it ends on the DVR, I give it my grade on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 worst, 10 best. What did you give last night's NXT?
I gave it a 7.5, 7.5.
Oh, no. There's no halves on a scale of 1. On a 1 to 10, there's none. No.
Okay. Well, then I'm going to go to an 8. I'm not going to go to a 7.
Really?
I really enjoyed the show. I thought Edge added a lot to it, and I thought the matches, pretty much other than that one women's match in the beginning, I thought were really good. I thought the finishes were all really well done, and the promos were pretty good. So I'm going to give it an 8. I watched the show, and I enjoyed every part of it. I wasn't like, ugh, other than the women's match like we talked about in the very beginning. So to me, I thought it was an 8.
Well, you know what? This is one of those weeks where, as we do the review show, I almost want to change it, but I'm going to go with what I gave it when the show ended. I gave it a 6 out of 10. I liked the Edge segments. I liked both of the men's Dusty Tag Team Classic matches. I thought there was too much women. I can't stand Beth Phoenix on commentary, and I've had more than enough of the Johnny Gargano comedy tour. I think that dragged down what, 7 or an 8 wouldn't have been a bad score if you could just eliminate just a few of the needless things on there that aren't that interesting, aren't that fun. Save that. I don't want to get into the other show until we take our break, but save that. That's the type of bullshit you see in AEW. Let them have that kind of fun. You know what I mean?
I get you. Totally.
All right. Any other news and notes with NXT before we take the break, sir?
No, that's it. Other than them announcing that they're going to have Vengeance Day, not just Vengeance Day on Valentine's Day. So, I mean, that's about it.
Well, you're going to have to tell your significant other you booked that night then for the watch-along.
Watch along with Boston Wrestling, absolutely.
All right, Mr. Carter, right now, hold your horses, fans. We're going to take a brief time out. When we come back, we're going to talk AEW Dynamite from Daly's Place in Jacksonville, Florida from last night. And then don't forget, because of my error or some kind of an error, I'll take the blame because most things in life are my fault. We're going to have Marty Jannetty's Party with Marty as part of this program. You're not even going to have to tune into a different video because the original premiere went off 12 hours early for some reason. Right now, we're going to take a brief time out. On the flip side, it's AEW Dynamite. Stay tuned. All right, wrestling fans, welcome back again. We encourage you to join us over on Patreon at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. The fun, the stories, the memories, the legends never end. But for even those, we realize it's 2021, it's 2020. Well, we're just out of 2020. I mean, the virus has killed a lot of people. There are a lot of folks out there hurting. A lot of folks that don't have disposable income. If you enjoy these shows, there's still a bunch of ways you can help us grow. You can simply hit the thumbs up button. That lets YouTube know you're enjoying the content. It shares it with more fans. I am humble enough to admit that there are millions of fans right now. There are millions of lapsed fans that gave up on wrestling that don't know we exist. But I tell you this, once they do find us, I think they're going to love us. So the thumbs up really help. If you could share the link across your social media, that helps an awful lot, whether you do Watch us on Facebook. The share button is right there. Share us in Facebook wrestling groups, on Reddit. I know that's become very popular. Send an email out to your favorite wrestling websites about your favorite talk shows that we have here in the world of Boston Wrestling, MWF. Same thing on YouTube. There's a share button that sends it to multiple social media platforms. Again, it gets more eyes, new eyes on what we're doing. It continues to amaze me that the growth it is almost tenfold. If we could grow from the numbers that we had from January 2020 to January 2021 to January 2021 to January 2022, you guys would not believe what we would be able to do for you and bring to you as far as live events and in-studio guests goes. I mean, you're talking, you'd be shocked. I'm shocked at the growth we've already had, and I continue to believe the more fans that find us and enjoy us, they're just going to keep passing the word along. That's all we really need. I mean, look at some of the, I know you're a big podcast guy, Dave. Look at the growth of Bruce Pritchard's show. That just started as a guy that, Bruce had been kind of quiet and out of wrestling for a little bit, and he started that podcast, and his whole life exploded. And now, beyond the success of the podcast and the live events they had, now he's back in a very plumb, powerful position in WWE. So the sky is the limit. I believe in the quality of the work that we do with our in-studio shoots. I hate Zoom interviews. I think they look lousy. I think they look bizarre where people have different camera angles and one person's head is at the top of the screen and the other person almost has their nose barely over the top of the other side of the screen. That's not for us. We're studio people. Even though right now we're doing a podcast-style show, cough, cough, we're studio people. So let wrestling fans know any way you can what we're doing. And again, the thumbs up help. And with that said, before we get to our party with Marty, a little awkwardly this Thursday night, we go back in time last night to the lovely Daly's Place in Jacksonville, Florida for a special AEW program, Beach Break. Did I get that right?
Yes,
okay,
Beach
Break.
EW.
You paused for a minute. I thought I screwed up.
No, I was with you. I didn't know if you were going to say something else. I was waiting for you to be like, wait a minute. But no, yeah, Beach Break, AEW Dynamite, a special show, I guess.
I needed a break after this one, but let's go through it.
Me too. All right, so we kicked it off with the AEW Tag Team #1 Contenders Battle Royal. I don't know. It was decent. A lot of spots, obviously, because you're going to get that with AEW. And I want everybody to know I'm not crapping on the product because I do like AEW, but a lot of it is spots. It's very big on their spots. What I have been describing AEW, let me just go off that real quick, is it's glorified indie wrestling because you have a few big stars on it and it's all independent workers trying to just on a big national level. That's the way I look at it because honestly, a lot of it is just spots. It's crazy to me. But anyways, it was a pretty good match. We had Chris Jericho and MJF win. I don't know. There's so much going on. I don't know if you have more to say about it than me.
I don't understand that if this was a battle royal to deem the #1 contenders for the AEW Tag Team Championship, why the hell were the Young Bucks in the match? Was that ever explained?
Yeah, it was. If
I missed
the Young
it then.
Bucks won, they got to pick the team they want to face. Right, exactly.
That's just, that line of thinking isn't for my viewership, I guess. Not a fan of that. I like the idea, I guess, that Jericho and MJF won. They continue to make poor Sammy feel like the black duckling of the Inner Circle. What I found amazing is that the Inner Circle, maybe a month or two ago, they decided they were going to stick together. They were going to be a faction forever. And then they've done nothing but wrestle each other since. Again, right. Which makes no sense to me whatsoever. But, they didn't call me for the booking meeting, believe it or not.
No. I don't think they called many people for the booking meeting because no one thought about what you just simply said. And I've been thinking about the same exact thing. From there, I know you hated it because I didn't like it at all. It was Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker. Thunder Rosa is decent, but the match was way too long. I mean, way too long. I was like, you know how I am. I usually give things a chance, but this was just way too long. Britt Baker won the match. Other than that, I don't really have much to say about it. I thought it was just way too long.
I thought the match was weak. Britt Baker, she enjoys using her Jack Murray-like mandible claw for the victory. Even has the glove, so she doesn't risk getting any infection on her delicate little fingers there. I thought there was some weak-looking offense at times. It was a feud that's been built up for quite a while and not much of a blow-off.
It didn't deliver.
Are my notes out of order, or was Sting not on before this segment?
Oh, I didn't. I'm sorry. Because when you're right. Sorry. Because
That's
on my
okay.
note, when we decided to do the show like that,
You're rushed.
I flip-flopped it. No, I flip-flopped because I started.
Oh, you were changing the channel. I see.
So if you want, we talked about that already. So if you want to talk about Sting, let's go into Sting.
It is a must. It is a must.
Right.
I feel like I have watched.
I was going to do that next. My bad.
That's okay. With this Sting and Darby Allin thing, I feel like even with Tony Schiavone introducing them, standing in the ring with his little puffy wind vest on.
Wind vest, AEW.
I feel like it has been the same exact interview in the exact same spot of the show for about 5 or 6 weeks in a row. The only difference is sometimes Taz's faction has been on the entranceway, and sometimes they're outside. I think having them outside of the building gives them a little bit more credibility. Again, it's 5-on-2, and one of the two has a skateboard and is about 5'3". I just, it's mind-blowing to me that why waste Sting's appearances if he's just going to continue to say the exact same thing week after week after week after week. I guess the new development here is that Darby is going to defend his AEW TNT title against Joey Janela, who I can't think of the last time that guy was on Dynamite. Next week on the show. I think what's amazing to me in 2021 is that Taz is one of the better promos in professional wrestling again. I love what he does. And I tell you this, you talk about maybe not as big in stature, but Ricky Starks reminds me of The Rock in 1998, just as he was joining the Nation of Domination, where even though he might not even really be speaking all that much or even at all during some of these group promos, just with some of his mannerisms and his looks, he's stealing a little bit of that spotlight for himself. I applaud Ricky Starks for that. I think he's someone that AEW should have signed to a long-term contract because WWE missed the boat on him.
Oh, yeah. I totally agree. That's perfect because I have that about him too. And I have the thing about the Taz. I think Taz is one of the best promos right now. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, very believable. I mean, he comes across like a guy, almost like me, that's angry and pissed.
I was just going to say, just pissed off about everything. He's everything too. Never happy.
Never.
Pissed off about everything. But yeah, my bad about the Sting thing.
No, that's all right. I just wanted to make sure, Mike, because sometimes my notes can be out of order, and
from then on I have it right, but I started writing, like I said, late. But yeah, Sting thing, I have the same thing. 5 weeks in a row, it's the same exact concept. It's never different, other than, like you said, with Darby Allin challenging.
Winter is going to be over, and they're still going to be doing the same promo.
But in Jacksonville, I didn't think they got snow. Damn. But from there, we got my man, Hangman Adam Page. I love the guy.
Your man.
Yeah, I love Adam Page. I think he's got a lot of potential. He's fantastic. Then let's talk about this real quick before we get in the match. Big Money Matt Hardy. Why is it okay that AEW did that to him and still use him like doing nothing and no one complains? But when WWE was using him the way they were, everybody complained. I don't understand.
What do you mean?
Like everybody hated the way WWE used Matt Hardy. Like they didn't use him right. They wouldn't let him do delete and all that stuff. Now he's Big Money Matt Hardy. He's not doing his delete stuff and everybody loves it. Like I don't understand it. Why is it you can crap all over WWE, but when AEW does something the same exact way, it's okay though? Like, why do the fans think like that?
I guess I'm a little confused by what you're trying to say. With Matt in AEW, he's had about 4 or 5 personality transplants since he debuted last fall.
Right.
Are you talking about people they like him as an agent right now, or they don't like him as an agent?
No, what I'm saying is, why isn't he just the delete Matt Hardy? Because
it's awful. It sucks. It
Right,
sucked
no,
in
no.
TNA, it sucked in WWE, and it sucked in AEW. That's
No,
why
no.
he's not doing it.
But what I'm saying is everybody wanted that, and you figure him going to AEW.
Oh, okay. I see what you mean.
And now he's not doing that there either. Because remember, everybody was mad that he wasn't doing the delete stuff in WWE. They tried it, and then it didn't work out, so they switched him. But everybody was mad that they didn't keep it with him doing the delete stuff in WWE. And now he changed it in even AEW, and people aren't mad about it. Like, people
I still don't understand what it was ever supposed to be anywhere.
Right.
I remember talking to our buddy Zeb Coulter just when the Hardys had that bad split with Impact. That would have been,
Right.
2017. And
Yep.
I asked him, I said, well, and Dutch was creative with Impact. I said, what is it supposed to be? I don't get it. And he tried to explain it to me, and I still didn't understand it. And I didn't
Right.
want to see it. I don't like it. I don't understand what needs to be deleted, why it needs to be deleted. I'm just glad the gimmick has been deleted.
Yep, there you go. That's tagline.
And I hope it stays that way. Now,
Right.
and all of a sudden now he's gone from being this imbecile with no credibility that acted like a fool in 3 different promotions over parts of 4 years, and now he's almost like MVP. He's this super agent trying to skim a little off the top from Private Party, and now
Right.
offering the locker room to Adam Page and try and seduce him into his camp. Hopefully not like the Terry Garvin route, but just to have him as part of the entourage, so to speak. I don't get it. I think it's a continued waste of Adam Page, fresh off of him being involved with one of the worst factions in the history of professional wrestling in the Dark Order. Now he's got big money mad after him.
Unbelievable. Well, that was a match. It was Hangman Adam Page and Big Money Matt Hardy versus Chaos Project with his Luther.
Oh.
So, I already know what you're thinking then. It was a match. That's all I put. It was a match. It was whatever. I don't know how I really feel about the Chaos Project. I love Hangman Adam Page. Like
You
I
don't
said.
know what you think of Chaos Project, really? Have you ever watched one of their matches?
I honestly don't want to be mean. I'll let you do that part.
I have to be honest, not mean.
Right. Well, I figure because Luther is, I don't know. I don't know enough about him because I've never really seen him work other than AEW. That was one guy who was off my radar. So to me, that's why I can't really judge if that's how he's just supposed to be working the way he does in AEW. But anyways, Hangman and Matt Hardy won the match. Like I said, it was a match. I love Hangman and Page. I'll let you take it from there.
I would have rather them taken video footage of a wet pile of dog shit lying in the street for 10 minutes than watch Chaos Project. Luther may be one of the finest human beings to ever walk God's green earth, and he may be. And I'm glad he is lucky enough to have a contract with this company. But there is nothing that guy does in the ring that looks real or believable to me.
Right.
Every offensive thing he does is awful, and then he can't sell on top of it. He's got a shit look. I mean, he looks like what Gangrel is going to look like in a retirement community in about 20 years.
Gangrel, yeah.
I have no idea, other than he's Chris Jericho's friend, I have no idea why this man is in a national wrestling promotion. It's terrible. Terrible. Yep. They look like they belong in that Dark Order group. And they're so bad they'd even drag that down, and that group sucks.
Oh, Jesus. All right. And then
but Adam Page, I think, is exceptional. Yeah. I don't understand why he's put in bad angle after bad angle with bad partner after bad partner. I don't understand why he was walking around various arenas with glasses of scotch. I mean, why? Why? I mean, you know what? If you are a booker or a writer of professional wrestling, the one thing you should always have a comeback to is if someone asks you why. Or why are you doing this? Where is this going? Why was the man walking around with glasses of scotch for months, if not longer than that?
Oh, yeah, you're right. It was months, definitely. I don't know. I don't get it.
I mean, it wasn't like I thought at one point, I said, what are they going to do? Turn him into, is his gimmick going to be that he's an alcoholic? Or is he just a scotch drinking horse rider? I don't know. I think it's just all he needs to do is be him, and they have $1 million talent.
Right. Exactly. Oh, yeah. I don't disagree at all. So true.
Santa Maria.
From there, we had the Chris Jericho MJF backstage celebrating that they won.
Ugh.
They're backstage with the rest of the Inner Circle. Inner Circle isn't happy with Jericho at all. I don't know. I like you said, they've been fighting each other, but they were supposed to be united and together. But they've been fighting each other for the last 5 weeks. We said, I don't know. What do you think? Do you have anything to say about the segment or?
It's just teasing more of something that makes them look bad.
Right, and something that's pretty much is already happening.
Why set the precedent that we're a strong faction, we are a new faction, we should be trying to bond instead of break up with each other, and instead all they've done since they decided they were going to bond and be this decisive unit is fight with each other. It's almost as bad as Hurt Business in WWE. I mean, again, a new faction that I like, that they've put together, and every week, even though they've only been together a couple of months now, Cedric Alexander teases turning on them. Why? Why did they put him with the faction to begin with?
Right. Oh, I know. I totally get it. 'Cause this week, I get it.
Is Cedric going to have credible matches, being looking like Bobby Lashley's kid? I mean, come on. And I like Cedric Alexander an awful lot. I'm not trying to knock him. I just don't understand the creative. They should be, you're talking about this is a group that should be together a year before they even hint problems and issues between them.
Yeah.
And now you have the same thing with Inner Circle, which is too big of a faction to begin with. But I could go on. But
well, you're going to probably keep on going on. From there, we had the wedding of Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford. I liked Father James Mitchell being part of it.
I did too.
Good. See, I knew you would because I love that guy. I don't know, something about him just speaks volumes.
He's
to me.
a wrestling guy. He's a pro wrestling guy.
He's fantastic.
He's not part of the bullshit.
Right. See, I'm glad you agreed. So I have that. We had Mero as the best man, Chucky T as the ring holder. Basically, Myro says, don't ask the question about being if anybody has objections of them getting married because he's trying to, do a little slap in the face to WWE because of what happened with his marriage and stuff. They're on television.
Or just about every wrestling wedding in history.
Right.
But
exactly. Myro gave a toast, then a present. He attacked the big present. Mero attacked the big present in the corner of the ring. It was nothing. Ends up getting handcuffed on the leg, which I didn't even see happen. So
who handcuffed him? I still don't know.
Did you see it?
No.
Yeah, me either. I thought maybe you could explain it.
Overbooked.
I didn't even see it. Basically, they attacked Chucky T after. Orange Cassidy shows up in the cake. From there, I know how you feel about Orange Cassidy too, so I'll let you take it from there if you want. Okay,
this is just so much wrong from beginning to middle to end. Wasn't Vicky Guerrero roaming around in the beginning of this for some reason?
Yeah, I thought so. At least it looked
Why
like
was Vicky Guerrero out there?
Right. I thought she was. I as far as I knew, I thought it was her. Then I'm like, why is she there? But I don't know.
Well, Vicky got out of Dodge pretty quick. I think she walked Kip Sabian to the ring. And I tell you this, I think Kip Sabian's a hell of a talent. I think he's someone, again, that I think he could use a little bit more mass to him. But long term, I think he could be a great heel for that company. He has zero chemistry with Penelope Ford. I don't ever remember Penelope Ford speaking before the wedding last night. Zero chemistry together as a unit. They did nothing to make the couple interesting leading up to the wedding. They just kind of put them together, and for the past 4 or 5 months, they're going to get married, like anyone's supposed to care. They didn't even do one of the fun bachelor parties because they just did the Hangover reenactment in Las Vegas with the Inner Circle a few weeks ago. So that should have been Kip Sabian's bachelor party or something to that effect. So they made it the most uninteresting wedding in wrestling history. I mean, it was so short. They got a couple of little ha-has in. I like Jim Mitchell saying kayfabing all others. I got a kick out of that. But I mean, other than that, it was horrendous. It was awful. What did AEW do to make you interested in Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford as a couple? What did they do other than introduce Mero and some of the worst looking wardrobe choices in the history of wrestling?
Right.
I can't think of anything. Kip Sabian almost never wrestles on AEW Dynamite, but yet they've continued to build up this wrestler. In order to get value out of these types of segments where WWE, as much as I don't like them, WWE can at least say they usually pop a rating when they have a wedding on one of their shows.
Right,
But
exactly.
what WWE does is they spend time building the couple up to the point that people actually know them. Again, Penelope Ford, if she wasn't with Kip Sabian, I wouldn't know her if she crossed the street to come into the studio. I'd look. She's a very beautiful woman. But I wouldn't know she's Penelope Ford from AEW. That's how little they've gotten her over. I don't understand why they bothered to do this. I don't understand the need to prop Orange Cassidy, which I think is just an embarrassment to professional wrestling. Again, he might be a fine human being, but what he does is an insult to what every person that's ever injured themselves in that squared circle over the past 120 or so years. It's despicable. It doesn't belong on TV. I don't understand why any fan would ever want to see it. I guess maybe if you see it once, you might get a little snicker out of it. This small, tiny guy doing these kicks that wouldn't crack an egg like most of the offense in the WWE women's division, but that's a different story for a different time. There's going to be more of something I don't want to see. I don't like Chuck Taylor. I don't like Best Friends. I wanted it to end. I wanted it to change the channel. If I didn't do the review for these shows, it would have been El Finito to Beach Break. I would have drowned myself in the ocean.
Oh, yeah.
And I want to know where Vicky Guerrero went. And I want to know who handcuffed or leg cuffed, whatever the hell happened, Mero.
Yeah. I don't know.
It was just too much.
Right. Too much going on.
Way too much.
Yeah, I totally agree. From there, we got like a little TNT like NBA set with Shaq accepting the tag team match against Cody. What do you think? What do you think about that? Do you think it's just a ripoff of WWE or what?
How the mighty have fallen with poor Shaq. Again, it's just Shaquille O'Neal and Cody Rhodes. Just the dynamic of it to me is bizarre. Then you throw in two green women. I think it has the potential to be a complete and utter disaster. I'm not a fan of the cinematic matches that have taken place during Corona times, but if there was ever anything that needed to be cinematic, it's going to be this. The only positive I take from it is what I didn't realize was that it's actually going to be a match on Dynamite, on TNT, as opposed to the pay-per-view. I was under the assumption it was going to be a pay-per-view disaster as opposed to a Dynamite disaster. So I think that lessens the blow a little bit. Is a 48-year-old Shaq going to draw fans to sample AEW for the first time? I don't know. Maybe. I would have liked to have seen Shaq have pulled something off 10 years ago like they tried with WWE when he had much more name value. But, I mean, I get that AEW is trying to come up with concepts to attract new fans beyond what's already there. I mean, what's already there is already there. That fan base is one that is, it's done well. It surprised a lot of people. But, I mean, have they come close to hitting what they drew the first 2 weeks?
No, not at all.
Exactly. So they're trying to come up with ways. But is a 54-year-old Mike Tyson the answer? Is a 48-year-old Shaq the answer? I don't think so.
Nope.
If I was them, I would be looking more into the Turner brand for someone younger, fresher, and in their prime. When WWE had Tyson, look at when they had Tyson. Tyson had all... Say what you want about Steve Austin, but without Mike Tyson, who knows how long it might have taken for them to turn the curve and start to beat Nitro again week in and week out. Tyson is the one that got the eyeballs on the TV show, and that is literally what kicked off the Attitude Era, was old Iron Mike Tyson. As far as Shaq, at 48, being a foot taller than Cody Rhodes, and these two women that no one knows and are familiar with. I mean, do you know anything? What's the Brandy's replacement's name? Red Velvet?
Yep.
Who the fuck is Red Velvet?
I don't know. They didn't explain nothing about it. I have no idea.
Who is Jade Cargill?
I know a little bit about her because she's been only by them, though.
I know why you have an interest in her, but that's a different story for a different time. But anyway, what is the background of Jade?
Jade is just basically she's a fitness model, so they got her. From
well,
I
jeez.
know she doesn't have no wrestling background. That's all I knew about her.
Well, now I really want to see it.
Right, exactly. Let me tell you, I'm totally with you on everything about it. I'm not going to disagree at all.
I respect the intent of them trying to do something out of the box to get fans to watch. But they need to go with someone from this century as far as their popularity prime goes. You know what I mean?
Well, the thing is that there's not many people out there, and the only person that really is out there that would even help them spark numbers is never going to probably ever go there, and it is what CM Punk.
Well, no, I'm talking about the celebrity route, different athletes and things like that.
Celebrity route, still, who could you get that's really going to... Who?
Well, I mean, WWE landed Mayweather. They landed Tyson. They had to spend big money to do it.
Let me ask you this. Like a guy like, did Bad Bunny even do anything really for their...
please.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. I don't even... That's another one. I have no idea who Bad Bunny is. Does that mean I'm out of pop culture or what? Does that make me an old guy because I don't know who Bad... Do you know who Bad Bunny is?
What'd you say?
Do you know who Bad Bunny is?
I only knew because of just listening to music, but I think honestly, I think more people are like you because of that's not a huge name. It's not like he was well known. You know what I mean? So I totally agree. I don't think he's a guy that moved the pin either because he's just not that big of a guy. When you're talking about celebrities in general, I can't really think of many. You know who might? Like a Tom Brady or somebody like that, but he ain't ever going to go into wrestling because nobody gives. He don't care about that. You know what I mean?
Gronk, I think, would have been perfect, although he's a bit of a goof.
Gronk, did he do a lot for them? See, I never checked numbers with that stuff. Did he make the needle move at all?
Oh, other than WrestleMania and that appearance when R-Truth rolled him up on his front lawn, whatever it was they did. Yeah. I don't think he did anything. I think it's too hard to. It's too small of a.
Do you think he would have moved WWE's needle if he was on Raw or something?
If they went through with the original plan where they were going to try and build SummerSlam around him in the main event where it was here in Boston, yeah, I think it would have helped to some degree, yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, you know what? That's actually not bad. Okay, Gronk, yeah, probably. You're right. I didn't even think about that because Gronk probably, yeah, there's very limited people is what I'm pretty much getting at.
I'll say this, though. If WWE tried to do this with Gronk in 20 years, no, it would not have that value.
You're totally right. Exactly. Well, let's moving on. We got the Lumberjack match.
Keep moving.
The Lumberjack match, which was Eddie Kingston versus Lance Archer. Hard hitting. Both are great talented. I wish Eddie Kingston would get in shape because then he would be the total package because he can cut a great promo. Great promo guy, but he's out of shape.
I wish you could see the look on my face right now, but keep going.
Okay. And then I got I got a laugh, and I think you probably did too, is Jake the Snake fall outside the ring.
Yes.
You seen
Yep.
I couldn't stop laughing because the poor guy's like, what? He looks rough. And when
he's had a hard life.
Yes. I couldn't stop laughing. I just go, Jesus. And I have Lance Archer won the match. He's fantastic. He's in great shape. I don't know why he's wrestling in a t-shirt. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
He looks.
Well, you know what? I think I know the answer. It's really cold right now down there.
Maybe that's it. There you go. Yeah. But go ahead. You tell me what your face was doing. All that. Go ahead.
Eddie Kingston. I mean, you're right. Really good promo. But he reminds me of a guy you'd sit near at an MSG house show. I mean, he doesn't look the part. He doesn't wrestle the part.
Right.
He's a pathetic presentation physically. And, again, might be a fine human being. His verbal is very good. I wouldn't put him in the ring to wrestle. Lance Archer, how WWE and TNA both missed the boat on him so much it's mind-blowing to me.
Right.
And I'll tell you this, I think they could even have gone and can still go a lot further to the dark side with him with Jake Roberts. But even in the limited capacity they have, I just think that AEW has done wonders with him compared to his stints in both AEW and, TNA and WWE. I think in TNA he was a rock star, wasn't he?
Yep.
With Jimmy Rave and the redhead Hemi.
Yep, absolutely.
And I really don't remember anything he did in WWE. I think he was on the ECW brand, if I remember correctly.
He was. No, you're right. Yep, absolutely. He didn't. And that's the thing is, like you said, how did they miss the boat on this guy? But
a guy with size, where it's so rare nowadays.
It's true. I'm surprised. I'm glad. I figured you would agree with me about Eddie Kingston about the shade. Like, just the presentation isn't there.
No. And the
from
whole
there,
faction he has is terrible.
Did you laugh at Jake falling too? Did you think that was funny?
Well, I thought it was sad more than anything. But
Sad. Yeah, there you go. I guess so, because I just couldn't laugh. Because it looked like he was trying. I don't know. But from there we had the FTR and Tully backstage promo. All they want is a championship match, pretty much. And then they had. Tell me something. I seen, because I turned my head to watch NXT. Was that Marco's stunt they had?
yes, they kidnapped Marco's stunt to get this title shot.
Up, and I seen the very end because I looked up to see what NXT was doing real quick, and I was like, oh man! And I just caught it at the very end. So that's
You
what they
picked
did.
a good time.
I don't know anything about the promo.
They basically want a title shot, and they are cruel individual badasses that'll do anything to do it. And then they pulled Marco, tied to a chair, and with a gag in his mouth. And I don't know if that's going to be the stipulation, that they'll release Marco's stunt if they can get a tag team title match. I don't. Anything that involves a 6'8" dinosaur is something that's not going to hold my attention.
Right on. And then, like we were talking about in the very beginning, Joey Janela had a promo right after that. He's going to be coming back to AEW Dynamite. He's been gone for a long while. He's going to face Darby Allin for the TNT title. It's next week, or is it March 3rd?
I believe next week.
Next week. Okay, so next week. And then, I don't know if you have anything to say about that, or...
I don't dislike him as much as some do. I think just because I know. He's different. And different isn't always bad. I mean, is he a great physical presentation? No.
Absolutely not.
Is he a solid, crisp worker? No. But there's something about his charisma that I kind of like, if that makes any sense.
I get you. No, I know what you mean. I get what you're saying. Totally. And then for the main event, we had... Let me ask you this first. Do you like because we didn't even talk about this at all. Do you like the cross-promotion, how they're doing that with...
Very much.
Okay. That's all I want to ask before I forget to ask you, because this match has to do with it, obviously. We had the main event, which was Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers, which is obviously Machine Gun Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows, versus Moxley, Pac, and Phoenix. Good match. Obviously, they're all good workers in there. I thought it was a good match. Doc Gallows looks great. He finally got himself in shape. He looked really good. Some great teamwork on both sides. I think that was good. Omega and Good Brothers won the match. Lance Archer came out and attacked all of them. And then Kenta showed up at the end and attacked Moxley. Kenta, I mean, we all know him from NXT, obviously. I thought it was pretty cool, but I don't know. Do you see Kenta in a main event role on AEW? I don't know. You tell me.
I think at some point you have to, yeah. I would expect to see him in Impact Wrestling, too. I think that's the great thing, that you have all these organizations working again. It's almost like the NWA back in the 70s and the 80s, when there was actually quality to interact.
This real quick, and then you can give the review on that. Would you want to see WWE do that?
I guess it depends on with which promotion and how it was done.
Just throw it out there. Say Impact.
If it was not a situation where WWE won 95% of the matches, it could be interesting.
Okay, now go ahead. Sorry, I just want to know, because I never get to really talk to you about that kind of stuff. Thought it'd be kind of interesting.
Yeah, the problem you've seen when WWE, when they have the power to book their own invasion angles, look at what they've turned into.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Even when they try and introduce just a new faction or a group, look at how horrid and wretched Retribution is.
Mm-hmm. Terrible. They put the wrong leader. It didn't make any sense. Lee doesn't make any sense as it. Obviously, we're not talking about Raw, but I'm just saying, yeah, I totally agree.
As far as this goes, you know, it was like the sun coming up after being raped for an hour and a half. What a horrible show this was. And then you had the last half an hour was great. And that's what I mean sometimes about Dynamite. You have one or two segments that are just outstanding, and and then you have other segments that don't belong anywhere near the internet, never mind national television. But no, I thought the main event was exceptional. You had great talent in there. I thought Rey Fenix stole the show. You had a big surprise for those that remember who Hideo Itami was from NXT, or those that are fans of New Japan and know who Kenta is. That was a a kind of a really cool moment. Who would have thought a year ago that Don Callis would be such a big player in the world of professional wrestling right now? It just shows how crazy the world is. And you know what? Good for Don Callis, a hard worker trying to reinvent Impact Wrestling and make it relevant again. And now they're interacting with AEW. They're interacting with New Japan. It's great all around. I thought the end of the show, much like the end of NXT, was fantastic. Fantastic.
Yep. I can't disagree with you. I thought it was good too. I absolutely agree. And I like Don Callis a lot, so that makes me happy that he's involved with it. And actually, like how James Mitchell was. I hope James Mitchell is more around. Don't you enjoy him?
Love him.
I just hope if they're going to involve the right people into them, in the cross promotion the way they're doing it, because it is good. I actually enjoy it a lot. I just hope they do the right things with it.
The only thing I don't like is that Don Callis stole the Jackal's name. And that's a true story because on a Saturday, I think it was the 19th, 1997, Wallingford, Connecticut, Tony Rumble had a show that Jim Cornette worked when he was part of Creative for WWF. And then that Monday, which was the first Raw ever at MSG, the night of the Austin McMahon Horrible Stunner and the Cactus Jack and Triple H street fight, Don Callis debuted as the Jackal.
And you're saying that's where he got it from?
Oh, I'd bet my life on it.
Really?
I don't know if I'd want to bet my life on it, but I'm almost certain. I mean, that happens all the time in wrestling.
Right.
I mean, if the Jackal was a cold human being, well, not cold, but, if he was sensible enough, I mean, he could have gone after them for prior usage.
That's crazy.
He wouldn't. Not like he would have got $1 million or anything out of it, but I wouldn't have been surprised if he approached WWE legal with years worth of tapes as being known as the Jackal. I bet you they would have thrown him 10 or 15 grand to go away.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a good little story. I never knew that.
True story.
That's crazy. Well, that was AEW. What do you grade it?
3 out of 10.
3 out of 10, and I was going 4, so I'm right with you on that. But
you gave it, what was it, 4 out of 10?
4 out of 10. I honestly, like I said, that show, like you said, you'd need to jump in the ocean after it. I wasn't too happy with it. Like you said, the last half an hour was really good. I enjoyed it. But the first half, wow. And that Britt Baker match is too long. I don't know why they're doing those matches like that. So long, the women's matches. Every one they have is so long. I don't understand it. I don't
say this to be cold, but I would love to sit down with Tony Khan as he puts these shows together and just maybe put a little bit more logic and common sense into some of it. Kindly. This is a guy, you have to remember, AEW hasn't been around 60 years like WWE. It's new to them.
Get you.
But it's just the presentation of it and the execution of so much of it is a much higher percentage of bad than good. And there's some great wrestlers on there that you like, but the way it's presented, it just sucks.
Yep, I totally agree.
And you know what?
For pulling our eyes off.
It's funny. I think when their adventure began, I think you were kind of really pro AEW, and you thought I was going to be negative towards AEW, and I was to some extent, because I didn't have high hopes for it. But as it grew, I really liked that they had such a different ambiance than WWE did. I thought it made them stand out a little bit more, especially in the coronavirus time. I thought the presentation at Daly's Place was so much more interesting than those WWE shows with no fans at the Performance Center, especially the first week. The first couple of weeks when Steve Austin was back, when they shot the empty bleachers. I could not believe that. But anyway, but it just feels like the past couple of months, ever since winter is coming. I mean, shit, winter came and they're almost frozen at this point. I don't understand it. It's really, it feels like it's declined, and they have some great talent. It's almost like what I say about Raw a lot of the times. Great talent. But as far as the execution goes, it's difficult to watch sometimes.
Right on.
But I'll say this. They seem to have more knockouts, solid segments than Raw does. I mean, that 6, I can't think of the last time Raw had a match as good as that ending 6-man last night.
Oh, yeah, that was good. I'm not going to disagree with that. It was definitely a good match at the end of it like that.
So I guess if you want to compare it to Raw, a lot of their hits are better than Raw's hits, but their misses aren't even in the same stratosphere. Even with WWE, on the weeks the shows are boring, a lot of the times you still have well-worked wrestling matches. But with the AEW, when it's bad, it's bad isn't even the way to describe it.
Right. I get you.
And do you have any more news and notes, sir?
No, that's it. That was all I had for today.
All right. Well, with that said, hopefully we will be back Saturday night with our SmackDown review. Right now, we're going to go right into Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. If you were expecting it at 10 p.m., we're still a little late. But we did not want to disappoint those that enjoy it Thursday night around 10 o'clock. Party with Marty will be back at its regular time, 10 p.m. Thursday night next week after our NXT and AEW review. I promise. I don't know what happened this week. For those of you that already saw it, I hope you liked it. I apologize. For my partner in crime, Dave Carter, our associate dating back to 2008, I'm Dan Mirade. Stay tuned. It's time to Party with Marty. Marty Jannetty, stand by.
Wrestling fans, welcome to another installment of Wrestling Insiders. Dan Mirade, Marty Jannetty, as we try and bang out the year 1989 with Marty. I'm sure we'll travel to different decades as we get there, as Marty shares his life and wrestling experiences. The fans across the globe are enjoying this show. If you're with us Thursday night at 10 o'clock during the premiere, chat away with us. We love to have great conversation with you fine fans. We have regulars like Slick Rick, Maria Davis, Tina, all of the great Kevins, Ken, Big Ant from Thunder Valley, Will Cortez, Trigger Trey. I could go on and on. We know some great people, and we're growing the family. The one thing we ask of you beforehand, if you could, hit the share button in YouTube. That will send out the link of this to your Facebook, your Twitter, your Reddit, all these different platforms that are out there, and it'll grow our family. When we grow our family here, it means it gives us more opportunity to bring more legends to you to do these types of programs. It gives these legends that have been out of work now, going on a year due to the virus, that can't do independent wrestling matches, that don't have autograph signings, it gives them a chance to have an income. So this studio is a great place, and the more professional wrestling fans that contribute and are active in what we do, the more wrestling legends we can help. And we're having a great time on Thursday nights with Marty. Again, the Super Chat is open if you want to tip the bartender, so to speak, along with the Patreon over at patreon.com, where you get that early ad-free access to every episode of Wrestling Insiders, along with our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD series. And again, you're helping the wrestling legends working. Patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Whew!
That it?
Whew! All off the top of my head.
Didn't Slick Rick die?
Stop.
No, you know
Which Rick are you talking about?
The rapper.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh.
I hope our friend in Maine just moved. Hopefully he didn't overexert
so it's not the rapper
himself.
when you were saying Slick?
No, that was a different Slick Rick. All right, fans, we touched a bit upon this a little bit in our last episode, but the fans were itching for a little bit more. February 15th, after WWE TV taping in Birmingham, Haku was out on the town. Two men were going at it with a woman at a bar, and Haku apparently cleaned house to the point where he actually bit off the man's nose like it was Thanksgiving dinner. I don't know if you were there or not.
No, I heard about that.
It led to some legal ramifications. Was Haku in the hot seat after biting the man's nose off?
Well, he was still around. I don't think that
he was still around for sure.
Yeah, I think that faded away. But you'd have to ask him.
Yeah.
I don't want to say what I don't know. But I did hear about that.
You mentioned a story before where Haku cleaned out a biker bar when you were
East St. Louis, yeah.
Tell us, from your experience in working with the man in the ring and just having him as a peer and as a friend, how dangerous of a man was Haku?
Well, he was one of them raw bone strong anyway, and so when you train on top of that, I mean, he's just got that natural strength, like tendon and ligament strength. You can't work that out. You can't get that stronger. You're just born with it or not. And I mean, like he wouldn't try to chop you real hard, but when he chopped you, I mean, you felt it all the way through your body. He'd chop you in the chest, and you'd have on your back, going bulging outward. But it was like his hips were like a tree trunk. Wham! And knocked the wind out of you, and you'd be all sorry. And then you would think, like, what if he really laid that in? Oh my God!
I imagine if he was doing it with intent. Yeah. If he was trying to work and it was that stiff.
Yeah, man.
What would it be like? If you were one of his enemies.
Yeah, he's high up. I think the biggest compliment that I ever heard was Barbarian. And I've told this story, some of y'all know this story from episodes before, but Barbarian had, and it might have been Haku, they were tagging, no, Warlord, it was with Warlord there. And Barb, they went out and had a match, and the guy comes back in, dressing room, Sean and I have already worked, and we're getting dressed, and he starts throwing chairs against the wall. That motherfucking Barbarian, gosh damn it, a motherfucker stiffed me. We'll see who's gonna stiff who, goddamn. And he's just throwing a bitch, walking back and forth, pacing, snorting fire, and Barb walks in the door and goes, oh, hey, Barb, thank you for the match. and so we're all like, oh, this is a big pitch to bitch fit. But later, after, Barb was getting ready, he was sitting next to me, and, Sean was over here. I said, Barb, I said, man, that guy was throwing a bitch fit before you walked in. And he just, oh, really? What's he mad? He goes, oh, he was just like, he was going to jump you when you walked in. He was throwing chairs. We pointed at the chairs he threw against the wall, and you see the scrape on the wall. He was throwing chairs. And he goes, oh, well, poor guy. And Sean says, what's it like to be the baddest guy in the business? What's that feel like? He goes, oh, not the baddest guy. I'm okay. Now, Haku, he bad. So that's why I'm like, wow. Sean and I both like, that's wow.
All right, well, if
Barb can go too.
For it to come from the mouth of the Barbarian, exactly. That is quite the compliment and the testament to Haku's toughness, so to speak.
Yeah.
Also,
there was another, to tell you how tough Barb is.
Let's hear that.
They went to some bar in Charlotte or somewhere. They went in, he had a long, full-length fur coat that he handed the bartender to put behind the bar to hold for him. This is like another one of them little small-ass, redneck bars probably. I wasn't there for that. They just heard the story. But evidently at the end of the night, he asked for his jacket back. There's beefcake.
Yeah, your buddy.
Did you have him? How'd that go?
The fans seemed to like it, but he didn't make a great impression on the studio folk.
Really? Oh,
Yeah.
he was an attitudinal.
Kinda, which was disappointing because
Well,
I'd like to
he's
do
been
more
hurting
with
a lot
him.
better, a lot better. You've been hurting a lot lately.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah,
Well, hopefully we can have him back sometime soon. But
yeah, he's good.
you know
man.
what? When it's not just me, as you know, that makes this place work. And when you make not a great impression on others that are trying to help the cause, you know what I mean?
Yeah, sorry. That's just, we got the thing set up. We got what do you call that? Video screen over there with
A television.
Is that what that is?
Yes, that's what.
We had television over there
We had a TV going.
on the WWE network.
All right, so Barbarian's at this redneck bar.
So y'all have to excuse my ADHD, HDH.
I'll reel you in today, brother. We
And
got to
those-
plow
yeah, we gotta get through,
We got to
don't we?
plow, baby.
Barb, so anyway, he asked for his jacket at the end of the night. He was getting ready to go. It wasn't the end of the night, but for him, he was leaving. And the bartender says, I don't know anything about a jacket. And this was like a full-length fur jacket thing. It probably cost a lot unless he just took it from somebody. But what's that he's putting on Guerrero's eyes? Is that coffee grounds?
I have no idea. I'm not paying attention to that.
Oh, yeah, so I can see I got to scoot back so I don't see it. I can't see that. Where were we? So he wants his jacket back. And bartender's, I don't know what you're talking about. Barb gave him a second chance and a third chance. And then Barb walked behind the bar, and the guy said, you can't come back there. He slung the guy over the top of the bar to the patron side. He was back there like the bartender and looking for his jacket. And then a couple of them big bully ass, burly, I don't know. I wasn't there, so I couldn't, I can't give a good description. But I guess he threw everybody around, like 4 or 5 of them. And Barb's a martial art guy too, he can do all that stuff, and he's like 6'3", at the time, 6'3", 300 pounds, all muscle, and flexible, man. So he's a badass. He's back there throwing them around. They called the police, and evidently it took, like they said, it was about 6 or 7 police, and Barb wasn't hitting them, but he was keeping them, pushing them back, kicking them back, throwing them back, throwing them aside or whatever. And he finally got tired. They were trying to get him, because he slung everybody around. He actually went and closed the door, and I guess they say it had a lock. Like I said, I wouldn't.
Went and locked the door
locked
to the
everybody in. Nobody leave till I get jacket. He always say Barbarian. Nobody leave till Barbarian get jacket. And you know, because he figures somebody's got it here. Like
Did he get the coat back?
No, the police showed up and he kept them, at bay, just sling them aside. He never punched them. Now, again, I'm telling you what I heard. But finally he got tired, and he goes, "So okay, Barb, tired now. You can handcuff." So they cuffed him. And they went to. And then once they had him cuffed, they got him to the car to put him in. They went to shove him real hard, and he stiffened up. He goes, Barbarian don't want to go. Barbarian not go. They backed off and said, "Okay, sir, okay." But yeah, so Barb's a bad boy. When you
you don't know what happened to the coat.
No, I have no idea. I don't think anybody cared after that. They was just like amazed that he tore up a whole slew of bar people and the police department. The only reason they got him because he said, "Barbarian tired now."
He kind of let them.
Yeah.
He gave in.
Yeah, and when they went to shove him. Haku in St. Louis, East St. Louis, the reason a lot of stuff happened there because East St. Louis is right next to a real rough part of town, and also there's like 4 or 5 bars down, and they call it the Flats. And it was, I don't remember the name of them, but it was a real good club that really, it was great for the boys. There was a strip club next to it. There was a country bar, and it was that one that the Haku and I went to. It was like a biker bar kind of place, but it was a whole little area of just clubs, and there's a lot of trouble happened there, especially around midnight and later. But because that thing happened with Haku and I in the biker bar, and then there was another time that I think now I could be wrong on that, but the story is the same. Is that the police? Somebody did something to Haku and something broke out. The police came to get him, and he wouldn't. The same kind of thing in the Barbarian. At first, he wouldn't let him because he was saying that guy started. That guy did. He's the one you're after. They didn't know who they were coming to get, evidently. And Barb wasn't the one they called on the other person. And so he fended them off, and they finally maced him.
They maced
him, and then they kicked him in the balls and
really?
beat him up. Well, they beat on him. He was at the show next day. He had they got dark skin, the smaller guy, a darker complexion. You can still see a burn mark down his face where they, whatever it was, mace. I didn't know mace would make a mark on you like that.
No, I never heard of that.
But but he had no bumps or bruises. He didn't care. He was fine. I mean, they supposedly put the boots to him, kicked him, like I said, and roughed him up a little bit. Didn't hurt him. You can't hurt them Samoans, man. He's just wasting your time. All you're doing is pissing them off.
All right, let me ask you this one, Marty. February 1989 news broke in the New York newspapers that wrestling was going to be deregulated in the state.
What year was that?
This is February of '89 now.
They did it way
with
back
the
then.
admission from the McMahons that professional wrestling was indeed under the auspices of sports entertainment instead of a shoot, so to
the
speak.
Athletic Commission that they kind of
Right,
broke?
yeah.
Which state?
And this is New Jersey now.
Okay.
And in return, as a thank you to the state of New Jersey to help save them on the taxes, they were gifted a SummerSlam 1989 along with WrestleMania. How did the boys react, if they were even paying attention at that point to what was going on there from the business aspect of things to, your line of work being admitted publicly and in newspapers that it was indeed?
Well, I'll tell you that the boys were happy.
Happy? Why is that?
Because we didn't have to still go through that physical. When the Athletic Commission is there, it's boxing. It's usually the boxing and wrestling Athletic Commission. You got to take a physical. Some of them even make you take an EKG. But and it's not bad to know that you're healthy or something like that. But it's like, man, we've been on the road 20 days wrestling. We're healthy. What the hell? But you got to take the blood pressure. You got to do the and the look in your ears and put some of them, like I said, put the EKG. And we don't want to be bothered with all that. And we just did it last night and the night before.
Yeah.
So when they got rid of one, it was like good.
There was one less to have to worry about.
But and they did start falling off one after another after the first. Were they the first one, Jersey? Because it was.
To be honest, I don't know.
They were everywhere.
Yeah.
There was very few states that weren't regulated by the Athletic Commission.
Was Massachusetts? I'm sure at one point it had to have
I think
been,
it
but
was.
I don't know at what point it was done.
The only ones that weren't were like South Dakota and Wyoming. They didn't even know what the hell was going on back then.
So for you guys, even though it exposed the business to some degree, it was a little less work once you got to the venue.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you could go and get together with your person that you might be working with, and either you know, go over a match, or you got to get dressed according to how soon. Like Davey Boy and Dynamite, you get there at 7:30. The show starts at 8, so they had to hurry up and get dressed.
Right.
Yeah, they ain't got time to do them. Sit over there for 20 minutes.
Toss some snakes around.
Yeah. Oh, Davey.
It's something that would foreshadow what would happen a few years
Hey,
later.
Dynamite died too, didn't he?
Oh yeah.
Goodness, all the boys are gone.
Yeah, Dynamite had a rough end of life between.
Yeah, he was in the wheelchair,
first his
right?
teeth, and then the wheelchair, and then he had his legs amputated, and
Oh, that's right. I heard that.
it was a tough ending for him.
Yeah, he was.
Some say though he reaped what he sowed. I don't know. He
He
was
was a
long
little-
gone before I came into the business.
He was a little rough around the edges.
But he was one that I enjoyed to watch as a fan when I was a kid. I know that much.
You know, I don't know.
Certainly, almost.
Oh, he's in the ring,
innovator.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, Sean and I would see some of the stuff they would do and say, well, we just can't do that. Because you don't want to, we like to say in the business, because a lot of people call it stealing the move, if you put your own little twist to it, like I've said this before, like Sting, you know, he used to do that stinger in the corner where he jumped right in the middle of the ring and land in the corner on you. I thought that looked cool, so I tried it one time on Tully Blanchard when we was wrestling the Brain Busters. Why am I having a hard time?
It was me yesterday. Today it's your turn.
Yeah, but yesterday we were in here for 15 hours, I think. But the studio, that is. I wrestled them. I did that stinger, you know, the dive. Now I was new in the business, you know, I was only 2 years. You know, I was still learning, and like I told you, we learned so much from them.
Yeah.
And Arn taught me something that day. Come here, Jannetty. After the match, I went, what? I thought he was with me. The way he said it, like, did I mess up something? He goes, if you're gonna do somebody else's signature move, at least do it better. You didn't even come close to doing it as good. Don't ever do that in the ring again. So, you know, I was like, you know, so people do other people's moves. But I, you know, since I've always thought, if, you know, people even come tell me like, hey, I'm gonna steal one of your moves. You know, at least they had the respect to say that, you know, where some don't give a shit. But I don't really see it as stealing the move.
Yeah.
If you put your own little twist or flavor, like where Sting jumped straight in, maybe like, I'll give you an example. If I was to say with Sting, if I'd have come running in and turned backwards or something, it'd have been basically the same move, but with a little, you know,
twist.
change of my own flavor to it. And then that we can say is called creative borrowing. You're not stealing the move, you're just creatively borrowing it.
When you were having that great feud with the Brain Busters,
But I was going to give you an example.
Oh,
Billy Gunn, remember he used to do the rocker dropper with the leg over.
Yeah.
And Billy, being athletic as he is, he did it where he'd run and then jump over, you know, put his leg over and do it. And they called it Famouser or whatever the hell it said. And you know, I've seen a lot of people.
Annie thought they dedicated it to her.
Who's that?
Annie thought they dedicated it to her.
AEA?
You got it, yeah?
Y'all know who AEA is, right? Man, there's 38 cameras. I got to look for that red light.
No, you don't worry. Let the camera find you. Don't worry about you finding the camera.
Yeah, but I won't be talking to this one when that one's on.
Well, just talk
Actually,
to
I do, because I got my...
There
Look
you
at
go.
this.
Oh,
I'm not
here we
going to
go.
believe this.
Oh, what have we got?
Look, these are all my paper teeth this week.
All right, well.
I got
that's
one
good.
in now. I get the real thing drilled in, I think, this week coming up. But until then... And that was from a turn post, the outside of the ring.
I remember you told the story from your training, but in that feud with the Brain Busters, did you get any other kind of interesting sage advice from Arn and Tully?
Oh, a ton of it. I mean, like I was saying...
Any examples you could give outside of that Sting spot?
one of the, I mentioned yesterday, or one episode ago, or 2 or 3. Wait a minute. There it is. Okay, it's in there.
Oh, you got it, brother.
How to up the intensity as you go. You know, in other words, like, don't go right into, you know, from arm drag, headlock takeovers to bam, 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 bam. You slowly build it. You're like, you show where they're getting frustrated because we're out maneuvering them, we're out wrestling them. And then it gets they start getting pissed off, and then they get testy. And then you do a big smiles, boom, boom, and you come up, you're all four squaring up, and you're wanting to go at it. You're raising that intensity. And then so when they do the next thing for the heat, whatever that, to stop you and take over and beat for a while, it makes it just flow so good.
Did you feel that as you're talking 4 or 5 months of house show matches continued, do you feel they got better and better as time went on?
Hey, this is pretty good. Yeah, these are pretty good. If
John Cena, Cena, Fabio, Pop. Hopefully they will be available around WrestleMania time for the fans.
That's the first time I had the root beer. That's pretty good.
It's a good one, yeah. Do you feel the series got better as time went on?
Yeah, because we always adjusted it.
Yeah.
We would take some stuff out, add some stuff in. And even when we had it down perfect, and this was so good to learn from, I mentioned this in another episode, how, the guys get so comfortable doing the same match over and over and over that you just don't have the intensity in it. They snap an arm, take an arm, and the guy getting it's like, basically like waiting for his turn to reverse it and then throwing the ropes or something. And the guy getting arms, holding easy, and it's just the fans can see the difference in that. And when you snap into it, even the lockups, I teach my kids that even from the very beginning. A lot of people go in. So what's that word? Lackadaisical.
There we go.
I can't spell lackadaisical. I don't even know if I said it right. But, they'll go in and they'll lock up real light. And it's like if you're watching the Fast and the Furious and you see the cars just putting
going
along.
6 miles an hour. Yep.
And, but when you snap into it, there with that ankle. I get that fixed soon. Well, by the time y'all see this, I've got a
You'll
cast.
be a new man.
But you snap into it. It's right from the beginning, you get them. You're like, oh, wow. Man, this is going to be something, It starts, really, I tell my kids, the match starts when you step through the curtain. Because a lot of places, there might be new people there. I mean, maybe a fourth of the building has got, first-timers. They don't know if you're baby or heel or good guy or bad guy. You come through that curtain, you got to be in character right then. Because that lets them know is that, I always say for the baby faces to be more energetic, jumping around, pointing, smiling. You don't even got to smile necessarily anymore. But in the heels, it won't come out and romp them, stomp them, F y'all, kind of thing. Well, I mean, generally, not, character, once you get a known character, you ain't got to worry about that. But I mean, then right at the beginning of the match, if there's a big brute and some guy that you think, has he got a chance at all? And you're into it, and then they lock up.
Yeah.
And it's like, damn. It's like watching a movie. It's just supposed to be the Fast and Furious. The car's going backwards.
So they brought an intensity and they brought variety every night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with the matches, like I said, I don't think they got so much better. I mean, you're going to get better once you work with somebody enough times. Mm-hmm. That's why I was so impressed with Kurt Angle. Well, that was our first time we'd ever worked, and it was like magic. Man, it was so good. It was so good and easy. Kurt's one of the best I've ever worked with. Him and Sean are probably the two best I've ever worked with. There's a lot. There's a lot of good ones. But I would, people say who was the best you ever worked with.
Those two.
I got to put those two. And Kurt, Sean and I had 7 years together, as a team. And then a pretty good run against each other. So we knew each other's thoughts. We didn't even have to say anything in the ring. But Kurt and I had just met, that was the first time. And man, that was so smooth. It was like, wow, that guy's good, man. He would position himself like if he's got to be shot in the ropes, he'd come up and be against the rope. And he's, you don't want to bait out, throw your arm out so the fans see you giving him the arm. Right. And a lot of them do that, and I hate that. I try to teach against it, but little things like that, and they're like when you throw a clothesline, looping over the head, you got to come level, man. If the guy don't duck, but damn, to do that, why don't you just tell the people? I didn't want to hit him. He's got to hit the ropes and come back. Right. But Kurt was right in place. I mean, every bump he took, of course, I've done so many years. I hope I flowed for him as well as he flowed for me. But it was just that it was the first time, and it felt like that we worked. And it felt like Sean and I, who had worked for years together. Yeah. So yeah, that's but back to the Tully and Arn thing. After a couple of times working with them, we pretty much were in sync. But they like to change it, which Sean and I like because we're still learning. And we didn't get to that rut of same match every night, same match. We do it a couple, 2 or 3 times, and it would be good. But then they were like, tonight, let's do this, don't do that. And we were like, that was the first time in our career that we'd heard somebody want to change up what was good. You know, what's that old saying? If it ain't broke, don't
fix it. Yeah.
But they would change a couple things, and we'd go out and do it, and it'd be every bit as good. So we're like, okay, this one's good too. We'll do this. A couple of days later, they wanted, like, this time we're gonna have both of y'all come over here, and we're like, damn, we're always changing it, so you can't get lackadaisical. Where's Matt Daddy? Am I saying it right? Lackadaisical. Okay,
Yeah.
I still can't spell it.
All right.
You've changed, and
My shirt, at least. Yeah.
yeah, me too. Did you see this?
Yeah, I noticed.
Did you notice what's on the back? Let me show them.
Here we go.
I got to stay in frame, so I got to cover my
Big
fat
red
back.
machine.
Can y'all see it? Can you see it, Matt Daddy? You see what it says?
When in doubt, knock them out. All
Yeah.
right, I like that.
I have to do that a lot with some of these. No, I don't. Yeah. So I mean, we had about a 4-month run with them. About that, maybe longer.
It was a
maybe,
great run.
but at least 4 months. And in that 4 months, I bet we did like 10, 15, 20 different types of matches. We had jump starts where we'd go in and get them, and they clear the ring and fire up, get the crowd to go nuts. And then we had the slow stare offs. We, look you, and then you get into it. But it was. I never wanted it to end. I tell you what, too. They both were athletes. I think Tully played football
yeah.
for somebody, and Arn's a hell of an athlete. Plus, so knowledgeable. But he's a hard worker. Like a lot of the guys in the gym, they're doing curls, doing bench press or triceps or whatever they're doing. And Arn would do that, but in between, he'd be doing something to keep he was doing his cardio as he was working out.
Yeah.
He's a hard worker. And I love that, because I had to do that to be worth the shit. So I respect when I see somebody that's working hard rather than somebody like Sean's he ain't got to do nothing. I mean, he still did work, but if he didn't, he would have been just as good. But I give him props for, he didn't really have to train. He would have been as good as he needed to be.
All right, let me ask you this one, Marty. Interesting question. Something that foreshadowed.
What I was going to say, though.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I apologize. It was a workout to work with them because they didn't go in there and lag. Like, I'm not putting the Ruggiero brothers down. I love them. We had great matches. In fact, we did hour long.
We're going to get there later in 89.
Okay, well,
so
but I was just going to say,
but
they would like to do stuff that, kind of easier. Not Tully and Arden. I mean, if we jump start, that's going to be the pace pretty much for the next 15 minutes. It was a workout working with them, and we appreciated it because it was like we felt that was some of our, good matches, our best matches, and we were learning so much. At that point, Sean and I, when we got to them, we'd probably been wrestling at 2.5 years in the business, which is still new.
Yeah, oh, definitely.
Today, it's new to be 5, 6, 7 years in the business because you're not getting to work like we used to work.
There's no place to work like that.
Yeah, where you're going 300 times. When you go 300 times a year, you learn fast. But they don't, I only think the guys at WWE work that probably 200 times a year at best.
You're talking about if the guys work every night, every event without missing any time. I think the most recently was maybe $150 in recent years.
That's what I was thinking about, 150-ish.
And that's if you're hitting every show.
And trust me, when you're throwing your body around, that's still a lot.
Oh, sure. But it's not what you guys had.
No, you double
4 days
that.
off, 4 days on, 3 days off. You never had that luxury.
And then I wish I was happy with what we did. Because remember, I was single, so I didn't have a family.
You didn't have to rush home to anything.
Yeah, I wasn't missing nobody at home. I was missing the next city.
You were missing your friends in the next town.
Yeah.
All right, well, let me ask you this one, and something that would foreshadow what would happen about 5 years later. As news broke that Ted Turner was going to buy the Crockett promotion, there were rumors going around that they were going to make a big-time offer to try and seduce Hulk Hogan to go to WCW. What would the loss of a 1989 Hulk Hogan meant to WWF?
If they would have,
if they were able to scoop him away, just like the big sports free agent
because that was right. I think he peaked right about in there. 88, 89. I think might have been the peak, but he held that peak for a while. I don't know. If he would have went, would it have dropped down because he went to what was considered the lesser wrestling company? Or would it have catapulted him even higher because he went and took over at WCW? I don't know. I really don't know that one. I'm glad he didn't go. Kept our paychecks good.
Well, at the time, the business was hot. I mean, like I noted,
that was the hottest
by
area.
the end of 1989, even though business would start to decline after WrestleMania 6 in 90, I still think that was the best roster WWF ever had, was late 89 into early 90 going into WrestleMania 6. But
I always
losing
say,
Hogan at his peak at that point, that would, I think, would have been a killer.
I think he knew that too. He was a lot of people talking him down, but Hulk's a good guy. Sometimes you don't know what a person is dealing with if you're not in their position, and he's business just like Vince. It got to be business.
You know what I found surprising, and it came out in some lawsuit, but that he made, in later years, he made far more money in WCW than he ever did in WWF during the big run.
That could be.
I think during that big 80s run, his biggest year was only, not quote unquote only, like you're shrugging your shoulders,
right.
but it was only $5 million, and you'd think where he really
that's
was
with merchandising too, yeah.
the face of the company, you'd think, I would have expected it to be more than $5 million, but that's what it was.
Well, that's still pretty good.
It's still pretty good, but
I know what you mean, though. He's
Right.
he's the man. Yeah.
You would think that he was a guy that would maybe double that. I mean,
Yeah.
you look at some of those big house show runs
Well,
he had with Orndorff and Savage.
I was
and
just saying,
Bossman.
85-ish and around there. That was $5 million.
it's a
would
lot of
be
money. It's a lot
equal
of
to about,
scratch.
I don't know what, 75, 8 million today.
Yeah.
Back in that time frame, it's funny. Like you watch all the sports, like baseball, football. The contracts just keep leaping like monsters. Like what's his name? The Mahomes boy. Mahomes for Kansas
Patrick
City.
Mahomes, yeah.
What did he sign? $500 million
Half a billion,
deal?
just about, yeah.
Because I think it was $50 million a year for 10 years. So,
Good for
we're
him.
watching that, and like that forces WWE to up their contracts. And like baseball, when A-Rod did his way back, I think he got $200 billion for.
He got his first big one, I think, was $250 million
Yeah,
from Texas.
yeah.
Then he renegotiated with the Yankees, and I think he got $275.
Yeah. And we're like, bam! I mean, from $100 million, which is a lot already, $275. Wow! Mahomes, or as Shannon Sharp calls him, Mahomes boy, $500 million. Oh man, it's over 10 years. So he's only really getting $50 million a year, and after taxes and after his agent, probably only $25 million of that.
Only, yeah. Hopefully he doesn't struggle too much to live off of that.
Yeah, and you can put food on the table.
All right, let me ask you this one.
But I was going to say,
sorry.
WWE, when those guys made them big leaps like that, kind of put it on them like, now we're sports entertainment, so we're a combination of both. The entertainment, the people out in Hollywood, and they're making 10 to 20 million a movie. Right? And we're doing this year round, 300 days a year. Nothing against the football players, but they do their thing for 6 months. The baseball, the same thing. All the other sports are seasonal.
Right.
Not us. And so we're going to get a leap now. Well, y'all were getting on average $300,000-$400,000. We're going to bump it up to $700,000. God damn. When we go do signings, like I sat with Pete Rose one time, and he's a big wrestling fan. I was a big fan of his, and we're sitting there together. And
Charlie Hustle.
Charlie Hustle was signing his 8x10s for $125, according to which one they had one with a gold seal. But I was sitting next to him selling mine for $20. And I went down and said hello to one of the Minnesota Viking players. He was showing everybody his Super Bowl ring and everything. And I looked, and he had $150 because the Super Bowl dude, right?
Yeah.
and I'm back over here at the $20 table. Well, it's always that way for the wrestlers. The actors, some actors you don't even know. I mean, I'm not putting them down by saying that. But you only know who it is, and they're selling their shit for $100.
Right, yeah.
It's like, now let me go back to my $20 table. I'm the blackjack table for the cheapos. They got the blackjack tables for if you've got to play 100 a hand, 200, 1,000 a hand. You know, go down there to the beginners at the $2 machine.
Let me ask you this: along the same lines of Hogan, at this point in 1989, Roddy Piper was a free agent. He had his retirement match at WrestleMania 3. He started dabbling in movies with They Live, and I think Hell Comes to Frogtown.
That was a good one. That was his big one.
Yeah, They Live.
You make one good movie. You know, they say in Hollywood, you're only as good as your last movie. It's sort of the same thing in wrestling. You're only as good as your last
match.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, he did that one right at the beginning. They Live, floated the rest of it. I don't think he did any more monster ones after that.
No.
He was in a lot of things.
Nothing that it was really big.
Yeah. But that one floated him for the next 30 years.
Well, I tell you, again, Roddy Piper.
He's very, very smart man.
He had been off wrestling television for just about 2 years at that point. I guess from what I was told, he kind of worked the NWA to get $25,000 just to have a meeting with them about negotiating a contract. WWF, as you know, wound up bringing him in for WrestleMania 5 in Atlantic City, which we'll get to in these episodes soon.
The last one I saw him was, they came in out off the Hollywood scene, was to wrestle Dustin as Goldust.
Oh, in the back lot.
Yeah, and then they had Goldust had the lingerie.
96. That was memorable. Well, and you know what? Never mind. The Mrs.
Which one?
Mrs. Goldust.
You talking about Terry?
Yeah.
What?
Oh, well, wait till 1996, brother. So. That's all. That's all I have.
There was that Vince laugh.
Yeah.
Vince McMahon. He can do Vince McMahon better than Vince.
But let me ask you this: Roddy Piper, again, he had been off TV for 2 years, but one of the biggest names of professional wrestling during perhaps its biggest boom. If Roddy Piper had chosen the NWA over WWF, do you think that really would have helped?
It wouldn't have hurt us as much, and it wouldn't have helped them as much as if it would have been Hulk. Hulk was the product. He was the face of WWF.
He was the face of the industry.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah, because he did a few movies that
sure,
did pretty good. They did pretty good.
I don't know about that.
I think it started with the Rocky movie where he was what Thunder.
Right, Thunderlips. Yep, yep. That was way back. Those were during his AWA days.
Yeah, was it?
Yeah, but if
who's that right there?
Forget about that. Forget about that. I shouldn't even have that on. You're too easily distracted, brother.
That's what's his name's wife, though.
That's Lana, yeah. The ultra-talented Lana, who's still waiting to have
You can't look at the boys
as
girls, and they make it hard by putting them on TV.
But, I mean, what would Piper have meant, impact-wise, walking onto WCW TV, which had, I tell you this,
big.
You talk about 1989,
but see,
WWF having a great roster. The NWA had a great roster in 1989,
they built it up, yeah.
Look at those classics, that, along with Flair and Steamboat, Flair and Funk.
To me, that's where things started dropping off, was when Vince bought them out.
Oh, that was 2001.
Because remember, you had the Monday Night Wars.
Yeah.
The Nitro versus Raw, and you got to outdo the other one. If you hear something through the grapevine that WCW is going to do, let's do it first. Let's start an hour first and then do it. They were doing shit like that.
July of 2001 was when my heart broke, Marty, after I started working and learning from Ed Cohen at WWF.
Yeah.
As they started to incorporate all those WCW people, they didn't need to have me around anymore. That's what led to me starting the independent promotion and Boston Wrestling, what we do here in the studios. So if it wasn't for WCW, who knows? Maybe we might not even be here right now for that sale.
Yeah, true.
Which would probably be much better for my bank account, but
who
knows?
I don't know this.
Who knows?
I don't know this to be fact, but SmackDown started after Vince bought out WCW.
No, SmackDown started in August of '99.
And he
bought them
out when?
March of 2001.
Oh, that's right, because they had what they have the Thursday nights? Thunder.
They had Thunder.
Yeah, because I was with I wrestled on that a lot in '98 when I was with them. So they had that equaled out, but it's still what I think when he bought them out, everything dropped because there's no competition.
No, I think the biggest problem why that failed was simple. They didn't spend the money to bring in the top talent. The only top guys that came in from WCW for that quote-unquote invasion angle were Booker T and DDP. Look at the guys.
Oh, they brought the other guys in, but they didn't.
They didn't come in during the invasion, though.
Oh, yeah.
WCW, as far as a entity on television with WWE died. It's by Survivor Series of 2001, just a couple of months later. Imagine if they spent the money they had someone to bring in. Hogan, Nash, Hall, Flair, Sting, Luger. Brett was retired at that point because of the concussion, but Goldberg. There were a lot of top tier. Scott Steiner was over big time in WCW at that point. And WWE, they didn't, from what I read, because I was with Ed, they didn't want to change the structure of their contracts to match what
over there
the WCW contracts were. But in the end, they fucked themselves out of decades worth of big business. WCW, I could see succeeding as its own entity with Vince McMahon running it. When they decided to bring WCW in as DDP, Booker T, and 30 mid-card guys that people barely recognized as WCW was tanking, it was dead. It was dead on arrival. But I tell you this, to show you how hot this angle that sucked was, outside of WrestleMania and SummerSlam, the July 2001 pay-per-view Invasion did the highest buy rate in wrestling history other than a WrestleMania or a SummerSlam. And it was a garbage main event.
garbage.
Well, look at what they did. They wound up...
No, but you said garbage.
Garbage, yeah. They wound up having to put Kurt Angle with WCW. They put Steve Austin with WCW, and it wasn't WCW. If they brought in the guys...
I used to think Kurt was like a double agent. They sent him in there, but because there was just no way I thought he would leave, when he first left.
When he went to TNA?
Yeah.
Do you know the story behind that?
Uh-uh.
Oh, I got to wait till oh, yeah. It's a great one. And we're getting the wrap-up sign already. You know what? You want to tell, it's not 1989, but I'll tell you, he worked WWE and Vince so good.
Who,
you want to hear
Kurt?
what happened now?
Kurt?
Yes. So I'll try and wrap this up
because some
because we're
people
running out of time.
don't mind hearing it again if they hear it later
We
down
jump in
there.
2006, and this came directly from someone I don't want to know.
Credible.
I don't want to say right in the office, but
credible.
If you remember in 06, they started the ECW brand up again. And it was like the third string. It was almost like NXT. It was developmental with some stars. And to try and give it some credibility, they put Big Show and Angle in the ECW brand in the summer of 06. You're talking about they started running house shows? They weren't even drawing 1,000 people.
Who's that?
The ECW brand,
with house
with
shows?
Angle, Big Show, Test was on it.
What was their whole thing? The hardcore?
Yeah, but this was WWE ECW.
Right, I know because he, Paul Lee had to pay all the guys he owed money from what I heard.
Right, yeah.
He had to pay them up. He owed a lot
of money.
Yeah.
So at SummerSlam 06 here in Boston, the ECW title match wound up getting changed. I think it was Big Show and Sabu. So Angle wasn't even on the SummerSlam show. So shortly after that, Angle and his agent had a meeting with Vince. He said, if you don't release me from my contract, I'm going to kill myself.
What?
I'm going to kill myself.
Kurt?
You know how they do the 90-day no-compete?
Right.
He had $1 million downside guarantee before he left the office that day. Here's your check for $250,000. It was nice to know you.
Really?
And you know what Angle did?
He took
the next month,
he went and signed
he
him.
showed up on TNA.
Yeah.
He worked them good.
Wow.
And how often does that happen? But and that was even pre-Benoit. You know what I mean?
Kurt's either the genius or he's got one hell of a good agent.
He had a set of balls.
Yeah.
To go, I mean, how many times has someone gone into Vince and out-Vinced Vince?
No, that don't happen much.
He got the 90-day, what he would have earned in that 90
forever.
days in one check before he left the office that day.
But see, that kind of fits into what I thought. That might be the word that came out, and it might be what they did. Now, go ahead. Go down there and infiltrate. Is that the right word? Infiltrate?
TNA?
No,
I don't think so.
Infiltrate. Like when
he
you're
was
sending,
a big help to them.
Oh, yeah, but I still think he was sending back secret, like, hey, they're doing this, they're doing that.
Well, potentially. But there was, I know
we gotta get that word right. Infiltrate.
There was a lot of heat about
Is that right, Matt Daddy?
There was a lot of heat on him because he presented it as if he needed to go and get mental health bad. And then within a couple of weeks, he showed up on a TNA pay-per-view after they gave him the check for $250,000. So, but anyway,
Kurt has gone through some things. You know that girl I trained, Tranisha.
Yeah, he likes you.
They had some issues. She was trying to say he's mentally off, but
Kurt, the one conversation I had with him, I hate this. My God, I helped TNA promote their first string of house shows when they were up here in June of 2007. They did 2 in Massachusetts, 1 at the casino in Rhode Island, and 1 in Hampton Beach, New Hampshire. In the Sunday, I remember, I went up early in the afternoon with Linda and the 2 kids, and they have like arcades and things like that. It's a beach resort town. And then I went to the show in the afternoon. And I remember the guys talking about Benoit missing the pay-per-view that night with WWE.
Oh, yeah,
but because of my neck problems with the car accident with the Sheik, Angle and I remember we were talking about necks for a little bit. And then come to find out the next day, the reason why Benoit missed the pay-per-view was the reason, which that's an episode for a different time. But for my good friend Marty Jannetty, I'm Dan Mirade. We're going to be back next Thursday as we attempt to
how far
roll
did we
through
get?
1989.
We're
still in February, but that's all right. All right, wrestling fans, you have a great week. We'll see you next Thursday with Marty. If you want early ad-free access again, head on over to patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Help keep the wrestling legends working. If you're chatting in the premiere with us Thursday night at 10, don't forget to tip the bartender. The super chat is open. eBay, the t-shirt fundraiser at bostonwrestling.com. So many great ways you can help to keep wrestling legends working. Be well and stay healthy, folks.
See ya.
The World Wrestling Federation was live at the CYC in Scranton, Pennsylvania, Monday, February the 2nd, 1981. In the opening contest, Yoshiaki Yatsu beat Baron Mikel Cicluna. The Moondogs with the win over Jim Duggan and Yoshiaki Yatsu. S.D. Jones defeated the Hangman. Stan Hansen victorious over Dominic DeNucci. Hulk Hogan beat WWF Tag Team Champion Tony Gurria, and in the main event, WWF Intercontinental Champion Pedro Morales retained the title over Killer Khan. If you are in Scranton Live, share your memories in the comment section below. Use the links in the description box to keep wrestling legends working in our eBay store and on our acclaimed Patreon streaming service so we can bring you more interactive superstar shoot interviews to relive the good old days of professional wrestling. Check it out. Boston Wrestling Sports in the MWF explodes into a new year with professional wrestling content galore and need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after our Monday Night Raw review, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. after NXT and AEW, join rotating legends on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's no-holds-barred sex, drugs, and rock and roll journey on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday night after SmackDown, don't miss John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, history videos, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. For less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks, get early ad-free access to our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times. Join our growing family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Expect the unexpected in 2021.